All right, welcome everybody to our latest Between the Races podcast on the mxvice network. Thank you, everyone, for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd firstly like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Monster Energy, Fox, Parts Europe, Scott, Bell Helmets, Acerbis, AS3 Performance, Kawasaki UK, KTM UK, O'Neill, and of course, Even Strokes for all their incredible support, as without them, none of this would be possible. All right, for this episode, we have a cracking interview with special guest, JM Honda MXGP rider Brent van Doninck, who's recovering from his nasty injury that occurred in Latvia. So how's life? And thanks for joining us, mate.
Yeah, life is good, actually. I've been enjoying it a lot, cycling, training again, doing what I love, But yeah, still not on the bike. But I will be back soon, I think. Like I said before, next week on Monday I have a new scan, and if everything looks like it should be, then I will be back on the bike, I think, next week. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's been 3 months already, and yeah, it's hard watching all these races and and guys riding, and I'm sitting at home. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Oh, mate, we're looking forward to having you back out there. I know it must have been tough because I believe you even went to the MXGP in Arnhem, mate. So how was that? And has the time off the bike, I guess, given you a chance to sort of mentally reset and recalibrate your focus and come back hungrier than ever as well?
Yeah, it's strange, but I feel like as I get a little bit older, I always feel every year that I feel more motivated, and I feel like, yeah, I do it. I enjoy it more and more, I would say. And yeah, like you said, I was in Arnhem. The track looked really good. It was a shame I couldn't ride. I think the track suited me if I was riding, and yeah, it's always nice to do a race a little bit closer to home, of course, and same like Lommel, and but yeah, it is what it is. And but it was nice to see everyone again. I had time to speak with a lot of people, something that we normally can't do because we don't have time, So yeah, it's cool to see everyone and have a chat, and yeah, was a good weekend.
Yeah, mate, it would have been cool to get back in there even though you weren't racing. But we'll just sort of rewind back to the injury. Obviously, James and I spoke to you, yeah, just before then after France, where you got 8th overall, and you'd also had some other good races this year where obviously you had a few issues with the bike, mechanical issues, which obviously have been getting sorted. So you're really gathering some great momentum, mate. So just talk us through, I guess, the chain of events that led up to the injury, and it just came at the worst possible time, really, didn't it? And then after you do that, just tell us about the recovery, mate, because it certainly sounded like a brutal injury.
Yeah, so in Latvia, it was in the first moto, just before the wave section. We had this split section. I was going outside, and Seawer was going inside behind me, but I don't know if you saw this video that he always hopped out of this inside line to the outside, and he catched me with his handlebar in my ribs, I would say, in the side of my my body, and this put me off balance, and I just whiskey throttled it over this wall jump into the wave section, and I landed off track straight on my hip, I think, and I felt right away that I dislocated my hip, because I actually had it the first time 7 years ago. I also dislocated my hip, but I didn't have anything damaged. I was pretty lucky at that time, and I was back on the bike after 3 weeks already, and in the 7 years I never had problems with it. So now again the hip was out, but yeah, it was a disaster, to be honest. There at the racetrack, they left me at the side of the track for almost 1 hour, or at least the whole race, and then they took a scan at the track, and then they saw, a piece of bone, or like a pretty big piece, broke off the ball, I would say. So they were not able to put it back in there, and then they had to call an ambulance and to the hospital, and then 5 hours later they finally put me to sleep to pull the hip back in. So yeah, 5 hours is way too long, of course, and yeah, it was a nightmare there. I was happy to be back home and get this surgery done to fix everything. Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's brutal. So you say that medical attention probably wasn't quite good enough or quick enough at the particular time there, mate, because that's a long time to be having it out and not to get the, medical attention you really needed.
Yeah, I felt like they were really helpful. They wanted to help me, but I felt like no one didn't really knew what they were doing. Or yeah, it was, and everything took so long. Like they wanted to pull it back in there, but then they saw I broke off a piece of the bowl, and then yeah, they had to bring me to the hospital, and then there again they left me there in the hallway for 1 hour. So yeah, to be honest, I thought everything was a little bit more organized.
Yeah.
So this is something for the future. I hope they learned something about this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they didn't really treat me like they should. I felt like 5 hours is way too long for a hip to be out. Also for the blood circulation and everything. And but yeah, luckily everything is okay. They fixed it well at home. And so yeah, I mean, I will be back 100%. But it could have been worse also, because everything took so long. But yeah, it was a nightmare.
Oh, mate, it must have been shocking. How was the pain throughout that period? It must have been pretty excruciating, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they gave me good painkillers, of course, but after a while, because I got so much of it, it didn't really help anymore.
Mm.
I remember like in the beginning, every time they gave me more, it was the pain was all right, but then after in the hospital when it just didn't help anymore. Yeah, it was pretty painful.
Oh, mate, you were saying last time you had a little knee issue that you wanted to get fixed up as well. So is that all sorted now? Because I think you were saying you wanted to wait till the end of the season because you'd need a few weeks off to recover from that. So has this given you a chance to fix that up?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't have any problems anymore. Since they did this small surgery that I had. So it looks like it healed or in somehow. So I will definitely have another checkup, but I think it will be fine. I don't have to fix it or yeah, it looks like my body found a way to heal it by itself or something in
Yeah.
my knee, and it was just a small issue actually. So even if they have to do something, I will be only out for a week or so. So that's not a big deal. I will have another checkup for this also. But at the moment, it looks fine. So I don't think that I need it that I need to fix it, to be
Oh,
honest. No.
that's one positive, mate. That's for sure. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
find,
for
I
sure.
guess, the stages of recovery after that. You obviously got yourself back home, and then it's just been small steps getting to where you are today, and then back cycling, and then fingers crossed you're back on the bike soon, mate. And I guess looking towards next season.
Yeah. Uh, First, I was hoping to still do some races this year, to be honest. But uh, yeah, last time when I saw my doctor, he said yeah, normally an injury like this takes uh maybe 4 months for a regular guy but now I'm a little bit ahead already and everything looks so good that's why I can start riding already this month maybe. And but yeah, it's still a shame that yeah, I wished I could ride the last two GPs, but yeah, it's too soon.
Yeah, I believe Christian Craig and Nate Thrasher have done dislocated hips this year as well, mate. So have you heard
Yeah.
anything from them? Have you been sharing any recovery tips or keeping track of progress that way as well, or not really?
No, not really. But I must say, when he, and Christian Greggy, so his biggest injury was actually his elbow,
Yeah.
what I saw. But and then I remember that after 8 weeks or something, then normally he was able to start training again. And then they saw that he broke off some bolts and the bone didn't heal, and this scared me so much, man. Like
Yeah.
at the same time, I had also my checkup, and I remember I was sitting there, I was so scared. Like, what if this would happen to me also,
Mm.
like that the bone didn't heal or something, and but luckily it was all fine, and I mean, yeah, then what he's been through must have been hard also. I can't imagine that like after 8 weeks you go back to the doctor and he says we have to do it all again.
Yeah.
That must be oh, so frustrating.
Oh, mate, because you were basically all in on this motocross dream since your kids. So, yeah,
Yeah,
massive hit when something like this happens. And especially for you this year as well, you finally found a really good team you were happy with. You were happy with the bike. You know, obviously
yeah,
the lighting's been great. You're a complete package on all surfaces. You were saying you found the base and you weren't really making too many changes weekend to weekend. Everything was really looking good, mate. You obviously found that right framework for you to succeed. And I guess just tell us a little bit more about that and how happy you were with Jackie, who's a master with the bikes and all the mechanics. And, you know, the last time we spoke, you were always having a good laugh with the mechanics. James, get the guys' names mixed up with Cam,
yeah,
this kind of
exactly.
stuff. So looked like the vibe and atmosphere is great, mate. So have you been sort of hanging around the team still or maybe helping with training, anything like that while you've been away?
Yeah, I mean, if Camden is riding, uh, yeah, once a week I will go and watch him. Or the workshop is only 15 minutes away from my place. So yeah, at least once a week I was there just to hang out with them a little bit and sit on my bike, and yeah, it's nice. And I'm also really good friends with Jentel. We've been doing a lot of cycling together. Jentel is the son of Jackie, of course, and yeah, it's always a really good atmosphere. And like you said, he built me a great bike also this year, and he does everything by himself, like suspension wise, and so yeah, everything was going really well. And but again, it's a shame that I got injured, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, mate. And your mechanic Jerome still running those marathons and stuff without you there. Have they found some extra work for him to do while you've been out?
I don't know. Maybe as a he doesn't have that much time anymore because lately he has a girlfriend,
Oh,
and so yeah, you know, these mechanics, they have so much work, and then I can imagine that when they're done working, they have to spend some time with their girlfriends, of course. So I don't think he's doing that much marathons anymore.
no, mate.
I
The
don't know.
time's cut. And how have you found Camden and Delvin Tor, your teammates' progress? It's obviously good to be seeing them doing well. Obviously, he's had an injury too, Delvin Tor, and Camden's had his injury issues earlier in the season. So must be pretty cool to help those guys. And I'm sure they're grateful for your input because you've got a lot of experience, mate, different teams, different bikes and things like that. I'm sure you could impart your knowledge onto them, but especially Camden, it's been great to see, you know, his rise in the second half of the season, I guess, starting with Lockett. So pretty cool for that for the team as well to bring some positives.
Yeah, Camden was doing great. I remember his first race, or like his first really good race in Lockett. I think we were all a little bit surprised. Like, yeah, actually, the his next step was a top 10 position, but he skipped a step and he went straight to top 5. So yeah, that was really cool to see. I was standing up and screaming in front of the TV. I remember this race, and yeah, was really cool. And even the races after, or I mean, he keeps on improving. I feel like now this weekend in Turkey, he had a difficult day. I heard he didn't feel so well, and but I'm sure that he wants to end this year strong. And yeah, Delventor, he's improving. You know, his sand skills are improving, but it's not easy uh, for a young guy when you're not used to ride sand tracks and you come from Indonesia, and the level is of course way higher. And yeah, I hope for him he's doing another year next year. I think if he could be here the whole winter, then it yeah, he still have some improvement. I still see improvement in him, and but it's not easy, of course. You know how high the level is, and yeah, it's and also he had some issues with his visum, so he couldn't be here all the time, and
Okay.
that's really important, of course, to keep improving. But yeah, it's a cool guy also. Actually, he's a really nice guy, really helpful, and he's always in a good mood.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to have these guys around you.
Yeah, he seems really humble, happy, just grateful for the opportunity and just wants to learn. I guess it's a great opportunity because, you know, where he's come from, he hasn't been exposed to the level of competition, the different tracks, and having you guys help him, it must be so awesome for him. Because remember last time, one of the key sort of takeaways from the podcast we did was just the absolute ridiculous speed at MXGP at the moment, and finding the balance and finding the limit. It's so hard because you really need to take a lot of risk to get inside that top 10, isn't it, mate? It's just the competition's crazy right now. So yeah, just expand a little bit on that, mate, because it really is brutal.
Yeah, I feel like every year the level gets higher and higher, and I feel like if I finish 7th or 8th, or I finish like 10th, 11th, I feel like I didn't ride better, or I didn't put more effort in. It's it's hard. You really have to be there from the first lap, have a good start. Luckily this improved a lot with me this year, my start, because last year this was a disaster. I always had to come from the back, and now when I got injured, I felt like many guys got injured as well. Like I feel like when I was still riding, everyone was still on the gate, except for Geyser and Paul Jonas. But then when I got injured, I think 8 or 9 top guys were out. So that was crazy. It made me feel like I was not alone, you know.
Yeah.
A little bit, but it's the risks are the risks are high, and every year it will get worse and worse. I think the bikes also get faster. That's the risk of the sport.
Oh yeah, mate, it's crazy. And what do you think of the battle we've had with Febvre and Prado? Obviously, Prado just keeps sort of doing his thing and managing the races, winning a lot of the time 2 out of 3 of the motos, if you include the qualifying race. So how have you been watching from afar? It's pretty impressive what Febvre's doing. Obviously, he's won 6 of the last 8 overalls. Prado just keeps chugging along, but he's still laying it on the line, trying to keep his foot on the throat too. It's not like he's completely managing things. He's still pushing the limits pretty hard. He obviously had an off weekend, but pretty impressive what he's doing. He's only won 2 overalls, I believe. So to have that lead in the championship, obviously the injury to Hurlings and so many other guys, like you've mentioned, has sort of allowed those two to break away. Even Febvre had his no score in Spain. So it's crazy the level, mate, but just your takeaways from, I guess, watching MXGP. And there's really, like you said, if you don't get a good start, it's so hard because you only really see Febvre and Hurlings kind of go through the pack lately, don't you, mate? So even the heavy hitters, if they're outside from the start, there's almost no coming back, isn't there?
No, it's so hard to even the tracks. Like I feel every year it gets worse. It gets harder to pass. I don't know if it's because of the tracks or if everyone gets smarter, you know, when riding. And I feel like you have to be really on it and smart. And you can see like these top guys, they always find places to pass. And Febvre and Prado, they've been outstanding this last races or half of the season, especially Febvre. But Prado is so good at the quali races also, and he's always in this top 3 position, you know, with the starts. And Febvre in Spain, actually we went down together. I think we were with 5 riders in the quali race. So if this didn't happen to him, then probably it would have been closer to Prado. But it's a level of consistency, you know, and it's like you said, you have to be in the top 5 every race in the start, otherwise you can forget about it, I think.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, mate. You made a good point about the tracks there. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about that, especially, I guess, in the last couple of months. You've had tracks like Sweden with you got Febvre saying this is not really motocross when you can't pass or do anything. And there's a lot of strange obstacles, obviously, which has got slowing the speed down in mind, but it didn't really promote great racing, which the weather didn't help that weekend anyway. And, you know, there's a lot of choice words about, you know, those really narrow tracks, I guess, like Vanta and Sweden as well, makes it so hard to pass on those 450s. There's just not much room. So I guess it would be nice to have a few different tracks, wider tracks like you see in America. They're just massive. There's so much room for those guys to move. So it'd be, just cool to have some bigger tracks. Obviously, it's a logistical nightmare organizing the series, but I suppose it throws up all different challenges, and it is a world championship. So your guys are supposed to be tested, but just there's been some pretty interesting words from the riders on it, how they've developed. And I guess you got the junior classes racing as well, which minimizes that guys have to do track time. So just your thoughts on all of that, mate?
Yeah, Sweden was one of the most boring races I ever saw, I think. It was just like one long train riding around the track, and it was because of the rain, of course, that that there was only one good line available. But I think there are maybe too many classes riding at one day, so they don't have enough time to prep the track. Otherwise, they could have maybe push some more mud or dirt off the track and make some new lines with the dozer, you know. So, but there are so many classes riding on one day that the track builders just don't have time to change some lines or whatever. And yeah, like you in the US, it always has been like this, huh? Always wide tracks, 3 to 6 lines in one corner, you know, and it makes it much more spectacular to watch because there are much more passes and. But yeah, I'm not a track builder. I don't know what what I have to do to make the racing better.
Yeah, because it's kind of, they put all the framework in place for it to be really awesome. And I guess that's the showpiece, the MXGP, obviously, with things like the age rule, they really promote that class. And obviously everyone tunes in and they kind of want to be treated to the best action. Like we've had many great GPs this year, but you know, there's some that have just been sort of let down by the tracks. And they were saying in Sweden, they had all the excellent machines. I think Prado was mentioning in the press conference, they had all the equipment there to do the stuff they needed to do. It was probably just they were battling for time. So I know you're definitely a man that likes the 2-day format, aren't you? We were saying last time, as opposed to the one day. You called yourself the Diesel, just likes to build into the weekend, get the practice times down. But is there any sort of idea of running the EMX classes on the Saturday with the qualifying race and then just having the main classes on the Sunday? It's probably something that could be looked at, I guess.
Yeah, I actually feel like with COVID, when we had this 1 day event just on Sunday, I felt like the track was more maybe more lines to pass, and because they have more time to change stuff on the track builders, and for passing this would be better, I think, to just do all the EMX stuff on Saturday and then MX2 and MXGP on Sunday. But for me, yeah, I like the 2-day event because I got better. I got better in it a little bit, but time practice has always been hard for me. Like you say, I'm a little bit of a diesel, and I don't know. But I was watching some old races also from say around 2006 or even earlier, and they've been riding the same tracks like Uddevalla and Tuchenthal also, and yeah, you can really see that back in these days they didn't rip the track that much, and then they didn't make so many bowl turns, and you can really see the guys more cutting the track, and this makes it easier to pass also, I think. I think they still rip it a little bit too much sometimes, and all these bowl turns and yeah, they can easily make it a little bit wider, I think. But of course, they want to make it look nice for the TV and with all the banners and stuff. But for racing, I think it's better to take all the stuff away and do it a little bit more old school again, maybe. And you will definitely get more lines or passing opportunities, I think.
Yeah, I remember we were speaking last time. That's some great insight there, mate. How you don't mind the old school tracks like in France that you did really well in. And you just, as riders, you want more areas to make the difference, don't you? And sort of elevate and show what you can make of, you know, in certain areas. Obviously, different guys, different strengths on different circuits. But one that I wanted to ask you about was also, did you get to the Lommel GP? Obviously, the team's workshop's pretty close to there, mate, or right there, really. But yeah, what did you think of the new layout there? Obviously, a lot of guys were saying they struggle with the flow and how the bumps developed. They couldn't really piece it together as they would have liked. It was very physically demanding. So did you get to that one, and did you have any thoughts on it as well?
Yeah, the track, how they changed it, uh, would have been a little bit in my advantage, I think, because when a sand track gets slower, because I really took the speed out, then for a sand rider, you can make more difference, I think, because you're used to pulling the bike from low speeds, and I feel like fast sand tracks, you can see like the guys that are not used to ride a lot of sand, they can still get on pretty good on fast sand tracks, but as soon as it gets really slow and really deep, yeah, it's much harder, and you can really see the difference between real sand riders and guys that are not used to it. So I really liked it how they did the layout, but I think they were a little bit too much 180 degrees corners, I think. Uh, Also for the spectators, to be honest, I thought they changed the track really for the spectators so they can see a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was better. Also from other people that I talked to, they said that actually the previous years it was even better. But I think the track still has to develop a little bit in this new layout. It always takes a little bit time to shape, like for the bumps to shape. You know what I mean? Like it's always when they change the track, like sometimes they do another track in the opposite direction, and the bumps feel so weird. And I think next year it will be much better when we had one winter already and some rain, and then you will see that the track develops better, and it will be much easier to ride it also, I think.
Yeah, nice one, mate. It definitely threw up some challenges in that wave section. Definitely caught a few guys out as well, mate. Pretty long and lots of jumps in there. So definitely kept them honest. And I guess with the Belgian Motocross the Nations Tour, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Obviously, you would have been a prime candidate if you were healthy. So, but yeah, Everts, Koonin and Jago, pretty exciting team, mate. It's great to see the young talents coming through, and even, other guys like Jeremy Van Horbeek doing well in his fill-in ride this year. And obviously Sasha Konin's a reserve rider. He's made some really good strides this year, had his ups and downs like all of them. But yeah, the talent's so impressive. And Liam Evans is, I guess still technically in that title hunt. He's keeping Adamo honest, and he's just been, really impressive with his technique, letting his riding do all the talking. And yeah, Lucas Kuhn, and yeah, what a star in the making, isn't he? His speed, the mentality, it's pretty frightening. So much skill. And same as Jago, just sad his year's been ruined by injury. Definitely should have had that title. But another guy who'll be stepping into MXGP next year to make the class even stronger. So just your thoughts on those guys, mate. They should have a pretty good crack. I guess maybe a podium's probably the expectation for those guys. And what do you think?
Yeah, it's a really strong team. I'm sure Liam will do great on a 350 also, because he's such a technical rider. So I'm sure he knows how to handle a 350, and it's also closer to a 250, of course, the way it rides and the way it revs and stuff. So because Erne is so technical and grippy, it's not easy to ride a 450 there for the first time. So I think it's a good decision to put him on the 350. And also Lucas Koen is doing great. He reminds me a little bit of a young Basha, actually. He's always fired up, and he goes down sometimes, but it's amazing how good he does at such a young age. And also his brother Sasha, I see him uh, coming closer and closer to the top guys. But it's hard for a little guy like him, I think, to do, because it's a really strong and fast bike, I think, this KTM. And he still needs a little bit more time than his brother, but that's not a shame, of course. He's only 17, I think, 16. So these guys have they for sure have a nice future ahead. And Jago showed already last year how good he is on a 450. So a podium for sure, and who knows, maybe a win. That would be nice for Belgium.
Are you going to be going, mate?
Yeah, I don't know yet, because if I can start riding again next week, then for sure the next few weeks I just want to ride my bike and do what I love.
Yeah.
But I I might come and watch maybe. I don't know yet, but I'll see what how I feel or like what I feel like doing, that weekend.
Oh, it'll be awesome to see you back out there, mate, because obviously, James, we were
Yeah.
saying those awesome whip videos and some of those cool little edits we had of you, mate. So it'd be good to get them
Oh
pumping
yeah.
again in that Acerbis kit, which was looking pretty fresh as well.
Yeah. That was cool. Some cool videos this year, and the gear was always really nice with the shooting bikes, and yeah.
Nah, mate, it'd be great to be back out there. And just, we got obviously a lot of American listeners and listeners from all over, like Australia. And we didn't really touch on it last time, but I guess just talk about how you got into motocross as a kid and who your idols were, and I guess how key your family were to getting to where you are today as well.
Yeah, I think I started riding when I was 4 to 5 years old, and then I did my first race when I was 6, I think. I got my first bike actually from my grandpa because my dad, he was a rider before, but he knew what risks it brought, like with the sport, with injuries and stuff. He himself, he had also a few injuries, like he dislocated his shoulders a few times, but as soon as he saw me riding on a bike, then he was straight into it, like both my mom and dad, they were really into it, and from a young age, I was riding with guys like uh I would say Brian Bogers, Misha Bourdoual back in the days. He was really good. Tim Geiser. Uh, yeah, but I was never. Uh, I was good, but I was never really like a title contender, I would say. I got much better as soon as I stepped on a bigger bike, like a 125 and a 250, and but I must say, from my 85cc days, I got really good help from Stefan, actually, from Stefan Everts and KTM. They got a deal together for me. This was a big help, of course, for us. And I was doing races like, especially the ADAC races in Germany, and a few European Championship races, but only the ones that were a little bit closer to home. We never did like this rounds like in Romania or
Yeah.
so no, they were nice, good days, I mean, from a young age, I only wanted to do one thing, and I was riding a dirt bike. So school was hard for me.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, mate. You look back and you think you've turned your dreams into reality. It's pretty awesome. And I guess what were the key milestones and achievements growing up? And were there sort of a particular point where you could, recognize this is my time to become a professional? Did you have a couple of those moments too?
Yeah, I think my first ever race on a 125 was the European Championship, the EMX 125 in Bulgaria. That was actually the first year that they started with this uh, with this class, I think, or maybe the second year. And then I finished second in in the first race in Bulgaria, and then from that moment on, I think we saw that there was some potential to be a professional rider. So from that day it was all in. Even before already, I must say. But I always did everything by myself on a young age, also like working on my bike and stuff. So I stopped school a little bit earlier than normal guys around here, just so I had more time to work on my own bike and go training. Because when you're a football player, it's easy. When you come back from school, you put your football shoes on and you go train. But as a rider, it's not that easy. Of course, there's a lot of work after and before riding. Prepping a bike and but I loved everything about it, even working on my bike. I still do. I still love to work on a bike these days sometimes.
No, that's cool, mate. I guess, who were your idols growing up? You mentioned Stefan there before, but did you have any other guys that were sort of key in the formative years for you?
uh, yeah, for sure, Ricky Carmichael. I was a big fan of Ricky Carmichael. I remember watching him with my dad at the Nations in Zolder back in the days. I think it was like maybe
Mm.
2003, 2002. I don't remember. And I remember us standing there at that finish table jump, and we never saw like in the US they were all whipping and stuff already. They were way ahead of this stuff. And I remember just standing there and watching Ricky Carmichael whip his bike every lap over that tabletop, and yeah, that was so cool. And yeah, I was always looking up to a lot of American riders, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, mate, they're definitely good to watch. And I guess when you look back on your journey, you must be really grateful for the sacrifice of your family and how important they were for making it happen for you, mate, because without them, it's probably not possible for a lot of kids to make their way in this sport. And like you said, there's so much to go into it, resources, time. You know, it's not just like soccer where you can get some boots and a ball and you're good to go. So I guess you got any thoughts on how important they were for you?
Yeah, for sure. If I didn't have had my mom and dad, then I wouldn't have been here, you know. They sacrificed a lot, and my dad, he worked day and night in his garage, you know, to get everything sorted, and we drove a lot of kilometers with a camper, you know, to all these races. And yeah, it's like you say, but I think this is the same story for every rider, you know. Motocross brings a lot of sacrifices, and it's yeah.
Yeah, it's tough,
I
mate.
think a lot of people that don't know anything about motocross, they don't really see this or realize this. Uh, I still talk to a lot of people that never saw motocross in their life, and they don't really get it, and they don't really see why we do this, because it's a risky sport, and yeah, it's a virus, you know. So first time you step on the bike, yeah, it's for life, I would say.
Yeah, well said, mate. And obviously that comes with that. You just want to keep getting better and better, and the improvement comes. And then you obviously got to be so physically fit to do it, because it literally is one of the most demanding sports in the world, if not the most demanding. So, and then, you know, there's so much you got to deal with. And how do you deal with the confidence and the mental side of the sport? Because that can be a real game changer in your performance as well, can't it, mate? And you kind of don't want to be in a bad space because you can be defeated before you've already started. So you have a few ways to keep the confidence high. Obviously the results help, but just sort of do a few other things, mental exercises and all this as well.
I was always struggling a little bit mentally before, and I did go to a mental coach for this, but this is already a few years back, and this didn't really help, and I just felt like I have to fix it by myself, like no one can help me with this stuff. It's just confidence, and I felt like I was always a little bit scared to fail in some way, but yeah, I found a way to figure it out a little bit, and I feel like this last 2 years, or yeah, even 3 years, especially when I stepped on the 450, it got way better. And yeah, it's a real mental sport, of course, because we race every weekend, and it's for some people it's hard to stay motivated every week. I don't see another sport that races every weekend besides MotoGP or Formula One, maybe, but. Yeah, if you're a kickboxer or MMA fighter, you train for a month or two, three, and then you have your fight, and then it's over actually for a half year. So, I mean, yeah, it's a long year, it's a long season, and it's even worse in the US with all this, even now with this super motocross stuff. So. Yeah, I think you have to figure everything out by yourself, and no one really can help you with this stuff, I think.
Yeah, definitely. When you're on the gate, it's all you, isn't it, mate? All that work sort of comes into play. And I guess for you, would you have any advice for kids growing up in your region or anywhere in the world? You hear a lot of things about, you know, training in facilities these days, which sort of can fast track, streamline, you know, that environment, really competitive racing against guys you usually race against. It's sort of that kind of thing going on a lot of the place. Or, you know, here, you know, Matthias Jorgensen say, you know, when he growing up in Scandinavia and Denmark, you know, that cold weather, those brutal days, they sort of mold you and make you pretty tough and resilient. So, you know, it's good to have that base when you're growing up. So I guess what would you say is the best approach, or just do what works for you in your circumstances and hope you've got the mindset and the skill and the talent and the hard work to go as far as possible?
Yeah, and also like myself, I feel I had a few really tough years when I stepped away, or like when I had to when they put me out of the team with Kimea, when I had to look for another team, when it was Factory Yama these next 2 years after. they were really hard for me because I was in such a professional team, and then after I always got into these smaller teams, and I was struggling a lot. And yeah, there were days that it didn't look so bright anymore, but I never gave up. And I think a lot of people also didn't expect me to be at this level again. Uh, so in this way, you can see that you should never give up, and because you never know, it might just turn around again one day, and that's basically what happened with me a little bit. And I see many guys quitting a little bit too soon also. As soon as they feel like it's hard to find a team again, and but it's not a shame to do everything by yourself again a little bit, Like I did this also one year. I went back to doing English championships, and because I didn't find a team to ride MXGP, and I was doing everything by myself at home, and I had some help from a friend here with the bike. He was helping out with the bike, and I was just racing to improve myself again, and to get back into the picture, and so yeah, this is something that I see more and more often with kids, that they give up quicker.
No, it's definitely a testament to your mental fortitude, mate. Just keep battling out and get back into the elite level, mate. Because there's definitely tough times where people think of throwing it in. And I guess with motocross, the rider can make such a big difference, even though it's obviously ideal having one of those factory bikes that gives you a huge, uplift in performance as well, and probably some confidence associated with that. But I guess, there's so many good riders out there, and everyone's sort of getting promoted into the MXGP class with the age rule. It must be kind of cool for a rider like you, and exciting to have, more factory teams like Triumph and Ducati coming in the way in the next couple of years, mate. So I guess that's something that excites you, because, the level of risk and everything you go through, you guys definitely don't get paid enough, covering European soccer as well. It's amazing what those guys get paid, especially the amount of, games and risk they go through compared to you guys. It's definitely not right.
No, if you see what happened this year with me with my hip, it's ridiculous. Like for what we get paid compared to soccer players or or whatever. I mean, and I don't see it changing in the next few years. To be honest, it's just the sport is still not popular enough, I think, and that's why we still don't have enough sponsors in the sport. But like you say, with these new teams, coming up, these new factory teams, it makes it also a little bit easier for young guys going from MX2 to MXGP. Because I remember when I was, that's what happened with me when I had to move up. I didn't find a team because I was not a top rider at that moment. I had I had a top 5, and I had a few good races, but that's not enough to get into an MXGP team. And then there's these guys that pay for their rides. I would say they also mess it up a little bit, for some guys, for some riders. But that's just how it is, you can't really blame them for that or whatever. I mean, that's the sport, and you see there's also in other sports, I think. But like you say, with the new teams coming up, with these new factory teams, it will make it a little bit better for young guys also.
Yeah, because that MXGP step from MX2 is absolutely massive, isn't it? Like, you see a lot of the top EMX 250 guys, those top guys there go straight into MX2 and do a pretty good job, like we've seen in France this year with guys like Rossi and Zanchi stepping up and straight in the top 10. So, and you imagine Bonaccorsi, he's going to be straight in MX2 and be doing well. But that MXGP step's massive, and especially when you're racing against guys that have been there for so long, Hurlings and Fevre and Prado, Geiser, it's massive, and the bikes they have, the experience they have, it really is tough for young guys looking to make that step up, mate. So especially on usually equipment that's a lot inferior to theirs. So it's so hard to bridge that gap, isn't it, mate? So to get to where you're coming from, you must look back and think that's really satisfying, getting in the top 10s on the verge of top 5s is pretty cool, mate, I reckon. So should give yourself a bit of respect for that.
Yeah, like I said before, I think many people didn't expect me to do this, to still do this. I mean, many people thought it was over after my first year in the 450, racing in England. But yeah, I never gave up, and I took that chance with Gabba when Calvin was injured, and I gave it my all that weekend in Arco, and I had a few strong finishes. So yeah, that made people realize that I still had it, I think, and from that moment on, I worked really hard, and I feel like every year I get to know myself better and better in a physical way, and what I have to do to get better. And yeah, some guys just need more time, and you can see that also back with Zach Osborne.
Yep.
He was also really competitive at an older age, and he was also struggling a little bit before that, I think. And yeah, some guys just need more time maybe, and I feel like yeah, I can do this until I'm 40 years old, but we never know, of course. I mean, everything can turn around again, but like I feel at the moment, I feel like yeah, there's still improvement in myself, I think. Also for next year, I want to be closer to this top 5 spot, and so yeah, we will work for this.
Yeah, mate, it's exciting times ahead. And I guess on one you would have been not minding having the chance racing in America. I guess your thoughts on the racing there and how good the Lawrence brothers have been, and obviously decimated by injuries, and a lot of European guys were making the trip over. So I guess your thoughts on that, and it would have been pretty cool, mate. You could have slotted into the top 5 quite nicely, I reckon.
Yeah, this year, man, I saw a few races like in Southwick when Butron finished 6th, and one race I was like, damn, I wish I was there. But it's hard to, yeah. I feel like if I want to make that step and go to the US, of course, a supercross career is already too late, like you have to do this from a young age. And to get a deal only for outdoors is really difficult, or or you're like replacing someone else, that got injured or somehow or whatever. And also, I see some of these guys going there a little bit as a privateer and get a bike sorted there. But I feel like if I go there, I want to do it good for a good team. So you can really show what you got, and yeah, I don't feel like going there on a private bike, everything stock, and then yeah, you know what I mean. Like if I go there, I wanna go for it like 100%. But yeah, this is something. I mean, I hope before my career ends that I can for sure do maybe one race somewhere in the US. Like I really like Ironman. This looks like a really nice track, really cool track. Many passing opportunities, also different lines. Yeah, this would be cool to do a race there once.
Oh, that'd be awesome, mate. And I guess you've been following it all. It should be pretty interesting to see the SMX playoffs this weekend happen, see how it all pans out with the format. It's all a bit different, but the prize money is definitely good for the guys. And also, before I let you go, who is your pick for the Motocross of Nations, mate? Who do you think gets the job done? I guess Belgium's really strong. Australia, Netherlands, France, USA, Italy, Germany has a solid team. Australia, obviously, for me, I'm excited, mate. But yeah, your thoughts on it all, and who do you think will win?
Yeah, the Lawrence brothers, they will be really competitive, of course. It's in Europe again, so that makes it also a little bit different, really technical track. But I see Belgium also being on the podium. France is also really strong. It's hard to say. There are so many strong teams this year. Also, like complete teams, I think there's no B rider somewhere in the team. You know what I mean? Like they're all good teams, complete teams. So yeah, it will be excited. I can't really say like who's going to win or who will be on the podium. To be honest, there's so many good teams.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And just before I let you go, mate, anyone you'd like to thank in particular with the journey, I guess, and all the recovery you've gone through, and just, yeah, future aims, mate. We look forward to getting you back on the bike, and it's going to be exciting, mate. It's going to give you a real boost once that happens, because it's been a long journey for you, mate. A lot of sort of blood, sweat and tears after that one in Latvia. So yeah, and thank you again for taking the time as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it were definitely hard times, especially these 2 weeks after the injury. So I want to thank the whole JM team, of course, for standing behind me, and my parents, my girlfriend, my private sponsors. they've been a big help to me during this difficult times. And yeah, I mean, without them, it would have been much harder, of course. So yeah, a big thanks to them. And yeah.
Awesome, mate. Cheers. And yeah, thanks again for taking the time. We'll just thank our sponsors for this one in Fly Racing, Monster Energy, Fox, Parts Europe, Scott, Bell Helmets, Acerbis, AS3 Performance, Kawasaki UK, KTM UK, O'Neill, and of course, Even Strokes for all their incredible support. As without them, none of this would be possible. All right. Cheers again, Brent, and all the best with everything, mate. Look forward to seeing you back out there and hope everything goes smoothly from here. And yeah, we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Pleasure.
See ya. Bye-bye.